All right, welcome, one and all, once again to episode 5 of the Reckoning Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. I know all my guests are special, but this guest is especially special for reasons that we shall get into today. I got Bernard Agyakwa sitting here with me right now. What's going on, Bernard? How you feeling?
What's good, y'all? What's good, fam?
What's good?
I'm very honored to be a part of this. I appreciate you asking me. It's been a long time coming.
It's been long. Yes, it has, baby, but I appreciate you being here today. Like I said, we about to get into some real stuff, some interesting topics.
Yeah.
Things that I think are not only interesting to the people that know us,
Right.
but even observers from afar. I think they might get something out of this. So I've been thinking about how I want to start this thing, man. But let's talk about. There's 3 things, and I'll let y'all know ahead of time what we're talking about today. 3 topics: being black in America, being an African black man that lives in America, the days of Elijah when it came to us doing ministry, preaching Jesus, existing in community together, and also what Bernard has going on right now with a company that he started. It's called BOMU. You'll see how all these things tie together. But I wanted to ask you first off, Bernard, as far as you existing as a black man in America, what challenges do you face, or do you face challenges?
Oof. Off the bat.
Off the rip, come on. Speak on it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's competing narratives, and I think as I've grown up, I've come to understand the differences in being an African who lives in America, whether you're born or you migrate here, and being an African American, with descendants rooted in this nation, and I would say, like, subversely, without a doubt, black people face challenges that are seen and unseen, so it's hard for me to pinpoint a specific moment where I would say, like, this was kept from me, or this hindered me, or I was neglected or rejected by or from this thing because I'm black. But for sure, it's happened because it's interwoven into the fabric of what America is today.
Well, that was another question I had for you is, do you feel like you have experienced racism in American society?
Yeah, absolutely. In school in particular, but I will say that even that there's nuance to it, because I would say that when white people look at me, I think I represent somebody who's exceptional. And I think that in itself shifts the narrative a bit, because I think they view me differently. And I think I've always been seen as token, going all the way back to high school, being usually the only black male in my AP classes and things of that nature. I've always found favor with white Americans, I think, particularly because of that narrative, the different narrative. And it's something that I've, in the last few years, have become, I think, a lot more aware of, and understanding how that looks like and how that plays out. Because I think on its surface, it looks like inclusion. On its surface, It looks like acceptance. But really, it's microaggressive, in all its ways. And so, yeah, I think that's how it plays out.
So when you think about going back to school, MCPS, for y'all that don't know, Montgomery County Public Schools, Montgomery County, Maryland, DMV. MoCo, baby. Do you feel like, because what age did you immigrate from Ghana to America? Age 6?
Yeah.
Do you even remember feeling different, or how did you fit in when it came to arriving here in America and starting in public school?
You know what? I've asked myself this question a lot, especially as my wife and I just married. We've been going back to Ghana a lot more. And to be real with you, I don't remember even feeling or thinking about anything. Like, I remember the whole process. I remember the week before we came, the day we came, and I can't tell you what I was even going through or thinking in my head. I remember getting here. We landed at JFK. It was and we literally went from 80 degrees. It was snowing when we got here. I had a jacket. I mean, none of it makes sense. I had a jacket on. I had a Nike fleece and some Zooms on. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it was. Shout out Nike. It was meant to be from the beginning. But I kind of, honestly, I really, there's a part of me, I think, for a few years, I forgot where I come from. Like, I think it was so natural And you know, Ghana being colonized by the British, English is Ghana's national language, and so I've always sounded like this. Even though they put me at Esau for like 2 days when I transferred school this one time, which was wild, but that's a whole different story. That I think definitely had to do with racism and at least some prejudice about African students. Wow. Yeah, it was right when I moved to Germantown from Gaithersburg, and so I was in 3rd grade, and I'd taken normal classes, and I guess, you know, when you transfer, I guess they saw my last name and they're like, yeah, he gotta go.
Hey, you don't speak English,
but yeah, I really honestly don't. It was a very smooth transition now. I would say my last name is probably the thing that separated me. You know what I'm saying? But again, I think that has to do with the thought of exceptionalism, and even what Africans and African parents believe or create, the space that they create in their homes about how we're different than African Americans. I think white Americans latch onto that, and I think there's an expectation sometimes, depending on where you are or whatever. I think sometimes we're all seen as the same, but I do think sometimes if it's understood that you are from somewhere else or you're different, I do think there's an expectation of a difference.
You talk about the difference between being African versus African American. I wonder, from your perspective, how is your experience as a African-born black man different than somebody who is black in America that is African American?
Perspective.
Okay.
Perspective. You know, I think I've been incredibly blessed my entire life, really never to know true struggle, even in Ghana, because I do think there is a general narrative about Africa that like struggle is our portion. You know what I'm saying? And it's just a narrative that's very untrue. And I think that's the thing about immigration that's very misunderstood, is there are millions of people who don't come to America because they're escaping anything. There are millions of people who come to America because they've hit the ceiling of their ability or their capability, or of what their ability will produce financially. And I think sometimes there's this narrative that like everyone who immigrates is escaping something, or America is the Mecca, you know. And without a doubt, my life, my family's life, in the future, my kids' lives will be completely changed because of the opportunity that we had to come here. But you know, for my family and I, we were incredibly comfortable in Ghana. My parents decided to come here for education because they understood going through the educational system. They understood that there would come a point where what lacked in Ghana educationally would prevent their kids from accessing all that they had. And so we came in for education, not finances, not anything else, purely for education. And I think perspective, it coming from there's an understanding, because it's both sides, you know what I'm saying? And I think more recently I've been able to, I think, gather the understanding in words. And what it is I've seen both sides of the colonial coin.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? I've seen, being born there and returning more frequently in the last few years, I've seen what colonialism has done on the ground, how it shaped perception and ideology, infrastructure, courts, because we essentially use the entire British system, from how our sewers run to what our government and court system looks like, and that completely affects narrative. And then coming here, you see the result, because Ghana was one of the largest portals for slavery.
Wow.
We have the most slave castles that they used to hold and transport African slaves on the entire west coast of Africa. And so, there's this very real dynamic in being here and seeing that connection. And so, yeah, coming here, you see the result of it, 400 years of your own people being removed and being planted somewhere and still being subverted and subjugated all these years later. But I do think that perspective it shifts how you live. And I think, especially with my wife, like, people don't know what it's like not to be able to look back and know where you're from. Because you pull something from that, right? You pull something from knowing who you are, you know? And millions of African Americans can't pull anything from that. You get what I'm saying? They can only trace it back to somewhere in the deep south, or wherever geographically in this nation. But as far as ideology, as far as man, who are we? What are we built for? What are we like? What does our bloodline and our family speak of? There's millions of people where it stops.
Yeah.
If they don't do the work or invest the money and the time into uncovering the truth. And I just don't think most Americans understand how difficult that is. Because everybody does it. Everybody traces something back to something. Right? Except for Black Americans. And it's kind of like, oh, well, tough. Because we're not going to talk about slavery either. Right? And so it's like, we're not going to talk about slavery. And you guys can't look back and pull nothing. It's just, well, tough. Deal with what's here. And so I think that's the unfortunate reality.
Yeah. At this point, do you see yourself as more Ghanaian or more American after having lived here for however many years?
Oh, 100% Ghanaian.
Okay.
But that it's been a journey in emerging as a person, you know, because I would say that there are a lot of years, middle school, high school, where Ghana was very far removed. But I would say that had to do with the ignorance and the perception of Africa. And I don't think I'm alone. I think most Africans in our generation would tell you the same thing, that middle school and high school, they try to get as far away from Africa as possible. You know, and a lot of it is difficult because I would say that our experience for a lot of Africans was that the people who teased or bullied or whatever, most of the time were Black Americans.
Yeah.
But again, that has to do with the split reality. And them not, a lot of African Americans, you know, when we were younger, really not understand, like, y'all, we're literally the same.
Yeah, same.
And it's part of the division that I think colonialism and imperialism has created, the divide. It's a very intentional divide in that. But yeah, I feel 100% Ghanaian, and you know, and I think more recently really leaning into that reality, you know. Yeah, and I think church did a lot in helping me submerge the reality, because you know, when you pick up the identity of Christ, sometimes you deny all else that he's created in you to exist. And I think coming to grips with the reality that God created me with all these parts, and all those parts are important because he gave it to me, and walking in the reality of that has changed my perspective as well.
So you see yourself now as more of like a full person with many parts instead of, okay,
ding,
I got
ding,
you.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding,
exactly
ding, ding. All right, check this out, y'all. Me and Bernard, we know each other through ministry, through Jesus, through church, I guess you could say. I don't know how to make this make sense to y'all who might not understand that whole world, but in 2011, we became friends. It's 2022 now as of the filming of this episode. Bernard, describe for the people.
Why am I getting nervous?
Bernard, describe for the people what happened in 2011 as he shakes with his glass of water in hand. Bernard, what happened in 2011? What were the factors that brought us all together? And what does that period represent in your life?
It's a big question. I'm going to try to be as concise as possible.
Speak on it.
2011, I was running a Christian club in my high school. And everyone who knows me has heard the story 45 times. Running a Christian club in my high school, we just saw God show up, you know, in that very dramatic movie fashion. You know, we preached a very simple message, which really was about letting your light shine before all men, you know, and it just resonated with a lot of our students, and yeah, we saw hundreds of kids come to Christian club, encounter Jesus. A lot of them make a decision for Jesus, and I think there's just this understanding that there's more, right? Like there's what we're seeing God do here in this high school. There's so much more, and so we kind of we put the bat signal in the air, the Christian bat signal, and you responded.
Yes, yes I did.
Our dear sister Karaya responded.
Shout out to Karaya,
the
man.
The homie Mike Fahey responded.
He's here right now, y'all. He's here watching.
Yeah, we plan these homeless outreaches because, you know, as young zealous Christians, what's the obvious need, right? That's
if you don't got a house,
right? If you don't got a house or finances, what's the most obvious need? And so we started doing homeless outreaches, and for lack of a better term, we honestly fell in love with each other. Like we honestly, it was, I think a lot of it was stirred by the reality that so many of us had been done with complacent youth ministry. which is a big statement. I understand that, but I do think that's the reality. Is a lot of us, for years, not me, but a lot of the people we connected with, had been going to youth groups and this and that forever, and never found themselves in a space where they felt known or seen or loved. And I just think God knitted us together authentically in that way right off the bat. And I think that's what shifted everything. And so where it all began to go wrong.
Oh, we jumping right ahead. Come on.
We took that time and we said, well, this can't be it, can it?
No, it can't be it.
It can't be it.
There's greater mountains to climb.
There's greater, right? And so we decided to become something. We had a brainstorming session and someone came up with the name. And mind you, we were seniors in high school. So we're all about to embark on incredibly different, challenging, discovery-driven journeys, and at the same time, we're committing to this thing. And so, we jumped in, became a group, all went to school, and then for the next few, years, pretty much like that first year and a half, we would get together like Thanksgiving break, spring break, pretty much any time that we could. So that's kind of that's the lay low origin story.
Yeah. All right. As far as the origin story, and you say where things went wrong, there are people today that would describe our gathering as cultish. Bernard, what do you have to say that people in 2022 say Generation Revive was a cult?
Man, let me say this. I identify with people's trauma, people's hurt, people's offense. The reality is that I and a lot of us were, around that 16 to 22, 23. I mean, if that, year-old people who, for a lot of us, hadn't been in church for a few years. And there's a misconception, I think, about those years that we were anti-covering or leadership or whatever. It was nothing like that. I think the thing, personally, for me that I found incredibly difficult was coming into a relationship with people from the older generation that was genuine without any subversive personal ideas or desire to gain anything from us. I think that's honestly what was difficult, was who wants to love us for us, who wants to see us for us, who's willing to be in it because of us, not because of our gifts or our number or our diversity or our intelligence or our ability to do spoken word, to preach, to play guitar, and to be honest, I don't think we ever found that. I don't think we ever found that. And I think, so let me just preface, those are all just, so I completely understand the people who feel hurt, the people who, because there was a lot, there are a lot of ups and downs, even in my own life, as a leader, a lot of personal sin, a lot of, but cult is I think cult is a really strong word, that's tied to a lot of hurt in America in specific. And I think what we had was, at times we were definitely overzealous. I think that's the thing that characterizes us the most. We were an overzealous group of people. We genuinely loved Jesus. That is without a doubt.
I agree with that.
We love Jesus wholeheartedly, and we were just overzealous and a little ignorant and a lot of naive. And I think we thought we could change the world in our fashion. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes in and of itself. I think, in essence, I think so much of the Christian world in our lives revolved around what we were doing. But I think cult is an incredibly overblown word, though I can understand and I can identify with people who felt like they were left behind or forgotten or hurt by me or other people. Everyone had their own autonomy, and I think when you use the word cult, it discredits people's own individuality, their own self-thought. Because even you, like, at some point you made a decision to move on with your life, and it was copacetic, right? There weren't any. We had some meetings.
We had some meetings.
But it was never ill-hearted.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It was never this thing of excommunication.
I don't mess with you.
Nah. It was hurtful because you loved these people.
Right.
And you believed that what you were doing was what God wanted you to do. And so, yeah, when people would feel like they needed to leave, it was hurtful. More so because you were building something together. And there's also this reality that when people would leave, you'd realize, like, man, there really wasn't a lot there.
Yeah.
You know, thankfully with you, I've always felt like our relationship was always deeper than that. Because I think you and I identified. I honestly think we're called to the same things.
Yeah, I think so.
To be very honest, and I think our relationship has always gone differently and has always had a deeper tint to it. But there's a lot of other people who I love in the Lord, and but when they left, it was just like, man, there's really nothing there. Like, us existing in this space was what it was. So long answer short, cult, no. Young, naive, overzealous, yes.
Cult, no. Young, yes.
Yes, very young.
I say, you talk about the things that we are called to, and you know, I just want to put on camera, on wax, on everything that is like, you are a very unique person when it comes to, because I've met a lot of people in my life. I've been around the block a time or two, but there is, I guess I will call it anointing, whatever, not to get too spiritual, miracle, lyrical on y'all casual watchers of the Reckoning podcast. But there's something special about Bernard, y'all. And, you know, I've approached this man about political ambitions, about running for government. You were, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I see you as the leader of what we was doing in 2011 and beyond.
For sure.
Do you feel like your work was successful? Or do you feel like you made mistakes in that capacity?
Whew. You know, I think part of what caused a lot of friction back then is what we defined as success. And I would say that I think primarily one of the biggest issues was that we were looking at other ministries and curtailing what we experienced in 2011 to become that. And I really think that's where we began to go off the rails. Because I'll be very honest, in my processing the last few years, one of the things that have become very evident to me in my belief about everything that's happened since 2011, to be honest with you, when I was answering the question before and I told you where it all began to go wrong, was when we became something. Because I can sit here today and tell you that, man, like, God has done so much with what we fumble and what we struggle with, without a doubt. And so many of the people we know are sitting in our lives today because of how God's orchestrated it. Can't say it was just perfect. You know, it was we did it exactly how he wanted it, but he always works it out, is my belief. But I wholeheartedly believe that 2011 and everything God did in 2011, all that was supposed to be was intimate relationship between young people who love Jesus. I don't think we were ever supposed to become a group. I don't think we were ever supposed to, you know, gain a name. I don't think we were ever supposed to get logistic. And no, I really don't. Like, I honestly, when I search my heart and ask these hard questions to myself in dialogue with the Lord, I think what God was trying to teach us in 2011 was that we could be capable young people with deep, intimate connection to him and the people who loved him. And I think what he was really trying to create was a network as we grew into our lives, where we would always be able to tap in, a network where we would always be able to pull a community where we would forever exist, no matter where we went to school or what we decided to study or where that would pull us off to, you know. And I think in popular Christian fashion, we try to consolidate that and we try to build on that, which, again, that's where that naivete and that zealousness comes from. And so with that in mind, what our vision was, you know, opposite that, we were trying to build something, right? At that point, we were looking at the Hillsongs and the Bethels of the world, and, you know, we had deemed those ministries as success, you know, and the reality is, like, the question you really got to ask yourself is, what's success in the kingdom? If it's not loving God, loving people, and helping people love him. Because I don't, on wax, success is not big church. On wax, success is not how many baptisms you have. Success, it's none of those things. Yeah. God, I think that's the thing, is I think oftentimes Christians, we as Christians, we want God to want the things that we want. And God doesn't want the things that we want. His ways are higher. His thoughts are higher. And I think we can claim anything as a victory, you know, but, you know, at the end of the day, how much of God's heart is really included in that? And so to answer the question, I think success back then was, trying to become like one of those ministries that we saw, those ministries that today I'd tell you are not reflective of the diversity or the thought that many of us have, right? And so it's like at some point it's going to go off the rails. And so, no, I don't think we were successful, but trying to be successful with that thought of success was wrong anyway. I think along those lines, those are the mistakes, is believing that was possible in that model.
Okay. I wonder, I mean, I think I already know the first part of this question, but do you still believe in God today? I feel like the answer is yes.
Yes, sir.
All right.
More than ever, actually.
More than ever. Very interesting. What does faith today look like for you?
It's more intimate. You know, I think after our time together in ministry, I went on and the group continued to grow and take on new lives. And I guess in our pursuit of success, quote unquote success, we eventually became a ministry called Ascend, came under a church in Rockville, Maryland, for those listening. You know, and for 5 years labored intensively. You know, and I think in those 5 years, I lost myself.
Wow.
And I lost the meaning of all of it. And God did a lot of good things, you know, things that you can still see today. But in so many of those ways, my own personal heart was far from him. And so, there's been this detox, not a deconstruction, because I think I'm a black man, a black African, just everything we talked about, right? Like, so those nuances and those perspectives are already there. And so for me, there wasn't really a need to deconstruct, because I've always had to, I've had to marginalize parts of myself to fit into the Christian narrative anyway. And so when you take yourself out of it, there's parts of you that automatically thrive because your mind almost comes back online. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's, Yes. The answer is yes.
The answer is yes. Bernard still believes in God. He's not a heretic.
No, it's more intimate. It's more intimate. It's I love Jesus not because of what I've been called to do or feel like I'm called to do, or because of those that are in need of our ministry. Or I love him because he loved me first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And and out of that place, I have this renewed desire to see people know him and love him in a more authentic way. I'm not anti-church.
By no means. We love church.
Not anti-church or anything like that.
Bernard, I'm just saying it's 11:30 on a Sunday and we here talking. We're not even in church right now.
It's a form of church.
But this is community.
Yeah.
This the fellowship of the brethren.
Absolutely. I 100%, let me just put this on wax before, you know what I'm saying, we get a repeat of 2011. I 100% believe in the efficacy. The called nature and the notion of why and how God created the local church. Flaws, absolutely.
Sure.
And the Donald Trump years showed us the cracks. I mean, the cracks is, you know, they've been there, but the Trump years definitely revealed so much. But no, my wife and I disciple people in our community, and one of the things that is incredibly important for us is that they be plugged in locally, you know, and her and I are navigating through, you know, our own journey as far as church goes. But yes, we believe in God, we believe in church.
Believe in God, believe in church. Bernard, man, it's just amazing. I appreciate you being as transparent as you are. Absolutely. You know, speaking from the heart and just leaving it all out there. I feel like you have experienced pain as a part of faith. I feel like you've experienced pain as a part of being affiliated with the church. What has healing looked like to you now as somebody looking back, being 17, 18, now 28, 29? What has healing meant, and how have you been healed over the last decade or so?
Yeah, I think, I think first and foremost, like you said, I was the assumed leader, and then I became the literal leader.
Most definitely.
You know, and I think I think the first thing for me, which for people listening who have gone through pain or hurt or trauma, whether it's someone who's serving a vision or someone leading a vision, I think I had to learn how to let myself feel. Because I think one of the things for me that, fortunate, unfortunate, was the reality was like, no matter what I actually did, things were always going to be ascribed to me. Because, you know, when you're the face of something or you're the leader of something, it becomes your issue. And I think because of that, there's large swaths of my time leading where I would submerge those feelings. And I think healing was really confronting, like, man, like I know in myself with the people that I hurt, you know, the thing, to be honest with you, there's also a lot of people who feel hurt that I know for a fact I'd never done anything to, but it comes with the territory, you know. And I think for me, the hard part was coming to a place where I was able to say, like, you know, I'm actually hurt too.
Yeah.
Because I do think sometimes when you do lead and things are complicated or convoluted, like, nobody wants you to feel anything except for what they want to ascribe onto you. You know what I'm saying? And it's just so I had to go through this space where it's like, you know, I'm actually hurt too. Like, there are some incredibly hurtful things that were said to me and done to me and orchestrated, and it was actualizing those things and actualizing, like, man, even outside of my own mistakes, I didn't deserve that either. And so that was the process at the beginning of it. It was like, yeah, some of these people don't really deserve me either. You know what I'm saying? The same way, like, people protect their space. I think I had to learn how to do that, despite what I felt in my heart and trying to love people. And so it's been that was the first step, was coming to understand where I was hurt. Honestly, taking that step back unlocked all the other parts of my own life that have come into view that have helped with the healing process. Because I think why so many people get crushed by church is because it becomes their everything. And for me, that really was what it was. And I think part of what God has done in me is he's brought to life all these other parts of me. I remember when my wife and I first started dating, she asked me, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do?
I ain't got none.
What do you like to do? And oh man, I literally was like, I play guitar for the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't have to, listen, I have a life. Let me just be honest with you. I was 20. Eek. Man, let me put this on. I didn't have my first job until I was 25 years old. Like, legit. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, if you let this thing do it, it'll steal everything from you, and you'll think God is doing it to you.
Dang. It'll steal everything, and you'll think God was doing it.
You get what
Y'all
I'm saying?
heard that,
so
man.
Listen, there's a reality in our faith about attack, about struggle. And I don't believe you can live a true Christian life without struggle. And I'm not talking about vaccine mandates and mask wearing. I'm not. Like, that's very limited.
Get the vax.
In the scope of what we as Christians were created to be and do. I don't believe you can live a true Christian life without the testing that comes, the shaking that comes. You know what I'm saying? And so, for me, I think I just trying to learn how to embrace that. But, you know, in those past years, I had flipped the narrative, and I was making my own lack a part of the narrative of God testing me. And I was stuck in that space, and there's nobody in my life above me in the space that I was who was challenging me to grow and to really grow up. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a reality that, like, in America, money buys houses. In America, money buys weddings. In America, right? And so for me, it wasn't just the money aspect. I looked back a lot of years before I took a step back, and most of the people I went to high school with, and it's not this competition that I think a lot of us can sometimes fall into, but even in a very personal space, I felt like my life hadn't moved in 5 years, and that's really what it was. I pull up to church on E a lot of days, you know what I'm saying, and count that as a part of the journey with the Lord.
Lord's blessing.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
He got me here.
There's so many things I did in that time that I slapped the mess out of my own self. You know what I'm saying? Because I was making that a part of the struggle that God had for me, which it just was not. I lacked, and the people I sat under were a part of helping me lack. If I can be honest, and I think a lot of the people around me, we were all buying into this narrative because everybody else was giving something up too. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I think the healing has been understanding, in essence, the prosperity of the Lord, not prosperity preaching.
Make no mistake.
Just the prosperity, you know, just like what it looks like to be in a relationship with Jesus where you see yourself and you go through the struggle and you allow yourself to, but you're growing as a person. You're growing as a successful human, you know, as a person, you know, striving to make the best out of the world as they see it. So,
got you. Well, it's been a journey, man, to get to this point.
Absolutely.
And you talked about those 5 years where you felt like nothing was moving, nothing was happening. At this point now, even observing you from afar, I can see that things is moving perhaps in a different direction. You started a company.
Yeah.
It's called, what's it called, Bernard?
BOMU, or as you say in Ghana, BOMU.
BOMU. I ain't even gonna try, but it's BOMU. BOMU. Bernard, this y'all can see the setup. Y'all that's watching this on camera, man, you can see the setup. We got the plants, we got the books, we got the drums, we got the couch, and it all says something. Even the clothes is matching the furniture. Bernard, I wonder, because you've always been a swaggy dude, but I feel like, when did aesthetics as an art form really begin to speak to you to the point that you wanted to found a small business out of it?
Man, it's one of those things, you know, it's just one of those parts that had been sleeping. Or even better way to say it, I think all these parts of my life existed when I was serving at church, but all 100% of that energy was given to the church, right? And so this is the aesthetic nature. We use that aesthetic nature in how we crafted our services, and how we crafted our conferences, and how we did our media.
That's true.
You get what I'm saying? And so, like, because I was under the impression, like, man, everything God's given me is for this avenue. And so it was like, yeah, I think, bro, I was watching Flip That House all the way back in 2006. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm being honest with you, like, that's kind of just been me. Like, you never caught me watching it, but
but he was watching that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's is honest. I've just always been fascinated. Well, I think at the core of who I am, there's something about something becoming new. I just feel very connected to something being restored, which I just think speaks to so much of what God's put in me. And so I think naturally for me, there's something incredibly compelling about watching something get rebuilt from the ground up, from the inside out. And so, yeah, like back in 2006, before the market burst, that was the early years of the flip shows and this and that. And that's really what caught my eye. You know, fast forward, my wife and her eye and her aesthetic and her gifting, I think it's brought it out of me. You know what I'm saying? And along with the discovery of, like, man, I was giving all this to ministry, and, like, I'm allowed to live this out in my own life. And so, yeah, it's kind of always been there. But it just as I've come to understand myself more, I think it's kind of flowed from that place.
What does BOMU mean, and why did you select that as the name?
Yeah, so BOMU in Tria means to put together, you know, and I think really that is a representation of my wife and I. You know, I think so much of what we do in our community is to bring people together, and so in thinking about a brand, we wanted something that was fully representative of who we are and what we believe and hope that what we do will do for the people we work with. And so for us, that's event planning. You know, it's something we've done on the low. Like last year alone, I think we were part of 2 or 3 weddings.
Wow.
Shout out Kamasi. Shout out Lexi Kamasi.
Cameraman.
Yeah, like literally a lot of this, even from a conversation we had with Lex a few months ago, you know, and kind of her encouragement and being connected to some of the events we were a part of and this and that, and it just kind of made sense because we've done it for years. And again, church.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like every week was an event planning opportunity, you know, and so a lot of
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Every week is an event plan. that's literally what I'm saying. Like, I've literally gone through this realization, like, fam, all these tools have been here.
Yeah.
Just in a completely different context. Completely different. Every week we plan an event. You know what I'm saying? And so it's event planning, it's interior design. Because again, at church, every week, not only was an event planning.
That's true all the time.
It was an interior design opportunity because we would have both regular services, your intimate sit downs like this, your youth nights which looked a little different. You know what I'm saying? Just a myriad of different things. And so it's event planning, it's interior design, and then it's pieces, handcrafted pieces from Ghana that we feel like fit any space and aesthetic.
Okay. So you got a website now. I think you just described the services that you offer. So that is interior design, event planning. Am I missing anything?
Are we missing anything?
Is that BOMU?
That's BOMU.
That's BOMU, baby.
BOMU.
All right, let me ask you this. What does success look like to you as the owner of a small business / what are you trying to build with this thing you got going on?
Yeah, I think it's multifaceted. You know, I think one, you want to be successful. You know, as far, speaking of a marketplace, you want to attract people to your business. You want to be able to invest in your clients, and so we want to see successful events, whether it's weddings or family reunions or business meetings or whatever it may be. You know, we want to help people redesign spaces that they're going to call home, and they're going to bring people together in. And then at the same time, for us, it's giving back to our community, you know. And I think there's a very real narrative. I would say the last maybe decade, you know, as globalization has become more of our daily lives, like the reality of globalization. Like, man, I've seen dozens. It's gone from, back in the day when you talked about African decor, it'd be those big old heads or those really, you know, those dark wood statues in somebody's house or whatever, and like. I never had that. God, thank God my parents were not that rooted.
They weren't that rooted.
You know, but that's really the extent of African decor, you know. And I think over the last 10 years, you'll see like quilts, blankets, baskets. You know, a lot of these things being found in homes of white and black Americans. You get what I'm saying? And I think the thing that has become really evident to us is the people behind these are often white people going to other countries. And I can't speak on, you know, the reality of how the laborers are treated or whatever have you. All I can tell you is about what I understand. And what I know is that there's something different when you do something for your people.
Wow.
There just really is. And so Jazz and I, we just came back from Ghana and sourcing a lot of the things that are on our website. And we had long and hard conversations with the people we sourcing these items from. You know, we traveled a couple hours in different directions. But our let me say this. We understand that in Ghana, very little makes a lot. You know, and so there's just, for us, we know what it looks like to help transform a family through commerce. We know what it's like to empower a small business owner in Ghana and how that change can empower he or her in their community, and how that can literally change the trajectory of their family. And that's really our goal and our hope. We're not trying to get rich off this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a business endeavor. And so obviously finances are a hope and they're included. But I would say really the true heart of it is we want to bring people together in what we help them produce. And on the flip side, we want to help shift cultures, you know. And I think, again, that whole narrative about Africa, a lot of it is because usually when people talk about Africa or NGOs or government organizations work in Africa, all they do is things for Africans. And I think that narrative is part of what's led to a lot of the destruction in Africa is people don't empower Africans to think and be for themselves. You know what I'm saying? So bigger than writing a check, let's empower communities to grow within themselves. And that's our hope and our goal.
Okay. I just, I wanted to ask, as far, all right, so you're somebody that's starting a small business.
Yeah.
Because I peeped your website, I'm like, it's very clean, the layout, everything easy to navigate. What elements of marketing do you feel like is important to have right there out of the gate? You know what I'm talking about? Like, what makes a small business look legit for people that are trying to get their thing going? They're not having success.
I think you gotta do the work and see. I think we're post. We live in a post Photoshop world.
You can't Photoshop no more.
You know what I'm saying? Like, to be honest with you, a few years ago, bloggers, like, that was a thing. Today, everybody's a blogger.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there was a time on Instagram where you would use Instagram's filters.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I still do.
I don't know the statistics. But I wouldn't say, like, more than 75% of people who post on Instagram, it's already pre-edited.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And so, like, there's just this reality, I think, in the creative world where everyone has it in some capability. Obviously, there's levels to this thing, right? There's real photographers and there's real cinematographers, and then there's a lot of other people. But, man, a lot of those other people, including myself, are just there. We found the ways and means to look just like a lot of those other people. You know what I'm saying? And I say all that to say that, unfortunately, because of that, starting something, you don't have the luxury of working your way out when it comes to creativity, because your very basic users have the ability to do so. And so I think it's important to come out the gate aesthetically, really having a design for how you're going to craft if it's Instagram or Facebook or your website, really being clear and concise about how we want it to look, and then working towards that goal. Because again, I think nowadays, one swipe onto your page will really determine if someone continues to go further, because they have in their mind what kind of aesthetic they think works for them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think off the bat, that's a huge one.
Okay. Cool, man. Well, as far as potential clients that might be watching this that are captivated by either your story,
let's go.
They like what Bombu's got going on, we'll put the website and everything like that in the description, how you can get connected with Bernard, his wife Jasmine, when it comes to them helping you get your home right. Whether if it's looking nasty right now, they're gonna put it together, it's gonna be clean. How can they connect with you, either on social media or in person?
So on IG, we are at BOMU_co, and then our website is the BOMU. That's BOMU .co.
Make no mistake.
But yeah, feel free to pop a DM. You can book us for a consultation. We'd love to connect. If you're listening and you have an event coming up, or you're looking to redesign your space, or you're looking for decor to fill in your space, whatever you're looking for, we're here for it.
Bernard Agyakwa, I thank you for sharing.
My boy.
You the homie.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, man.
Reckoning, we appreciate you.
Reckoning, episode 5. That's it. See y'all next time.